I'm here today at the ANCA National Headquarters in Washington, D.C. I'm Lenna Hovanessian with His Excellency Foreign Minister of the Republic of Artsakh, Mr. David Babayan, who is on a special visit here to discuss policy matters and have meetings, think tank meetings, and all across the with national activists and members of Congress. We're very happy to have you here today, Mr. Babayan. It is truly a pleasure to have you on your first official visit to the United States of America representing the Republic of Artsakh.
It's a great pleasure for me too. And besides, it's a very important meeting, important visit in general, and we do plan to have some very special and important meetings with representatives of political, public circles, analytical centers, especially with members of our beloved diaspora.
We're honored to have you, Mr. Babayan. Today, it's a very special moment and difficult moment for not only the Republic of Artsakh, but also the Republic of Armenia. On September 13th, Armenia, as you know, Armenia was attacked by Azerbaijan once again into the sovereign lands of Armenia through invasions, incursions, and has now killed 135 Armenian soldiers on our sovereign territory. And also, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi will be visiting Armenia. What do you think the significance is of having a United States representative of the level of Speaker Pelosi who will be visiting Armenia, considering all the significant devastation that is happening in Armenia and the attack once again on our people, not only in Artsakh, but now on the sovereign land of Armenia?
You know, first of all, I would like to say that it is the most difficult period in our history, the most difficult, the most dangerous, because we face existential threats. You know, our nation has gone through periods of perils, ordeals, and a lot of catastrophic things. But the current period is of special, let's say, importance, because the destiny of our state and the destiny of our people are at stakes. So what we have to do is just to save Artsakh, because this is the key to the survival of Armenian people. If there is no Artsakh, there will be no Armenia. If there is no Armenia, the destiny of the diaspora will be already very much clear. So after 1-2 generations, there will be no Armenians at all. So we have to understand that now it's the most crucial period in our history. This is why each of us and all of us should comprehend the historical significance of this period. And it's not only that we have to carry out kind of a very important job or work, it's a mission to save the nation. And as you mentioned already, the recent invasion of Azerbaijan, by the way, it's backed up by Turkey. This is why we consider very important the visit of Nancy Pelosi to the region, because Turkey is a NATO member. And I hope that all those issues will be addressed, and the US, one of the US top officials, will have a general picture, objective picture of what's going on, because attack against Armenia, genocidal policy against Artsakh and Armenia and Armenian people in general, it's not only an attack against Armenian people and Armenian state, it's attack against humanity, it's attack against civilized world. And if civilized world ignores or even more shows indifference toward this kind of events, then it will be only a matter of time that they are going to knock the door of different other countries, including that of Europe and United States. Besides, United States is one of the Minsk Group co-chair countries,
yes,
which is dealing with the settlement of Azerbaijani Karabakh conflict. This is why we consider in general, the involvement of very influential countries like United States, Russia, France, who are members of this OSCE Minsk group, co-chairmanship, very important to keep peace and stability in the region.
Yes. What type of policies would you like to see coming out of the United States in order to better support, as you said, a democratic Christian nation, which is really has a very important geopolitical position in the Southern Caucasus? It provides stability, and as the first Christian nation, we are very aligned in the values of the United States. What policies would you like to see on this visit, come out of this visit, that you would like to see implemented into the support of Artsakh, and also in perhaps not condoning or encouraging Azerbaijan to continue with its aggression and attacks towards Artsakh and Armenia?
You see, in order to somehow understand and realize what do we want, we have to figure out who is the main culprit of all those developments, who stands behind, who is one which boosts such kind of aggressive stance of Azerbaijan. Of course, Azerbaijan itself is a very aggressive country. You see, not people, because there are no bad or good people as nations. There are dangerous and bad states which pose threat to other states and other people. Because, for example, Germany, before Hitler's advance to power, was a different country. Not so aggressive and dangerous, especially after the First World War. But then Hitler came to power, and we saw substantial transformation. This is why one of the key components of stability in the region is Turkey as a NATO member, because Turkey is helping Azerbaijan. Turkey is igniting Azerbaijan to act in this aggressive way, because in Turkey, Azerbaijan sees an older brother, a kind of father who is standing behind firmly and who is doing everything to protect the crimes of its, let's say, child or, I don't know, lesser brother. Turkey is a NATO member. During the third Karabakh War of 2020, known also as 44-day war, we saw a very dangerous symbiosis when Azerbaijan allied itself with Turkey, a NATO member, and those two engaged into conflict, also international terrorists. So we see this very dangerous phenomenon, state, member of a very strong militarized NATO and international terrorists. If this alliance actually acts in one part of the world, and the world is indifferent or unable to do something to prevent that, then this tendency will continue. Now we see how Turkey behaves towards Greece. So the most important thing is to somehow control the chief culprit of all those things, in this case Turkey. And because, you know, after the third war, people started to ask, we have to understand that it's a very important thing, because it's a challenge to the entire civilized world and democracy. People started to say, what's going on? Turkey is an ally of NATO. If Turkey starts such kind of attack and is engaged in the war against Artsakh and Armenia, in a genocidal war, did it receive permission from NATO or not? We don't think that US or France where we have Armenian diaspora, countries which gave refuge to millions of our compatriots, wants Artsakh to be destroyed. If Turkey did get a permission, it's one thing. If not, it means that Turkey can ignore NATO. It's another thing. But then we see that in this case, it also somehow, erodes the idea of democracy.
Absolutely.
Because it means that democracy is unable, or even, I would say, a very painful thing, is interested in such kind of things because it considers geopolitics and interests above values. In this case, democracy is the system which must be based on values. If it is not based on values, it will be easily eroded.
Yes, we're talking about geopolitical interests.
Yeah. This is why we have to understand that these cases demonstrates a very deep process going into this democratic world. And if this is so, and if we see that this is also to some extent the disease of democracy, or the erosion of its classical terms, it is a very bad thing, and it poses threat to the entire democratic community.
Absolutely. You had made a statement that recognizing the recently Prime Minister Pashinyan mentioned after the attack on Armenia that he may be willing to recognize the territorial integrity of Azerbaijan and pretty much hand over Artsakh, the Republic of Artsakh, into the territory of Azerbaijan. You made a statement about what type of ramifications that would have, including that would be akin to leaving Jews in the middle of Nazi Germany and asking them to survive that. What are your thoughts on doing that as far as the ramifications? Doing that in exchange for peace is really what he meant. But do you think that that's a tenable idea for the people, for the Republic of Artsakh, or for the survival and existence of the Armenian people in Artsakh?
First of all, Nikol Pashinyan himself hasn't said that he is going to give Artsakh to Azerbaijan. Mm-hmm. But some statements generated very deep emotions within Artsakh and Armenia. People thought that this could be the case. This is why the entire Artsakh was very much frustrated about any possibility of Armenia recognizing Artsakh as part of Azerbaijan, even theoretical, possibility. And President Arayik Harutyunyan of Artsakh, National Assembly of Artsakh, of course the Foreign Ministry, made appropriate statement that it's impossible. Well, you see why the enemy wants ourselves to recognize Artsakh part of Azerbaijan, because this will be the end of our independent spirit, of our self-respected spirit, self-esteem. Because if we recognize Artsakh, I mean Armenia, Armenian world, Artsakh part of Azerbaijan, it will mean that it will put a very big question mark on who we are. Are we people? Are we nation? Do we have any values, simple values? What do we want? Eating? Drinking? In this case, it will be a catastrophe. It will be the end of Armenian statehood. You see what the enemies want. Of course, you can, let's say, conquer the enemy, destroy his army, etc., etc. But the best way to completely neutralize your enemy is to destroy his spirit, independent spirit. And what do they want to do? They, first of all, this the highest level of self, let's say, consciousness within the state is when there is a notion of nation. Then they want to somehow degrade the notion of nation, and it is step-by-step degradation. It's nation, then nation becomes people, people become mob, and mob becomes kind of a, let's say, a particular, let's say, sort, type of living animal, a breed. You see, in this case, this society doesn't have any values, doesn't have any principles. This society is doomed. This is why they want to make us from nation to breed. And we have to be very careful. We have to know that Armenians are a nation which cannot be destroyed from outside, but we are very vulnerable from inside. You see, there is a very good saying, you know that, that there are no internal enemies and or foes and friends. There are, let's say, eternal interests. No, there are eternal enemies. These are lack of patriotism, selfishness, egoism, I don't know, etc., etc. These are our main enemies. This is why whatever is happening to us, we haven't been defeated by Turks and Azeris. We were defeated by our eternal enemies. We have to understand the seriousness of the situation.
I understand the spirit, and when we think about, as diasporans, we think about the people of Artsakh and your leadership, the leadership also of the President, Artsakh Harutyunyan, and the resilience and the spirit of the people of Artsakh, what they've undergone, not only with the losses of so many soldiers during the 2020 Artsakh war, but also the challenges that came afterwards with the gas being shut off in the winter and the threats, the ongoing threats, the UAVs at the border and shelling of civilian towns to the point where it was an untenable existence. We are truly in admiration of the resilience of the people of Artsakh, and that was one of the things I was going to ask you. It sounds like what you're describing is the spirit of the people of Artsakh, and some of the most brave and celebrated generals, I understand, have come from Artsakh and have served and defended the Armenian nation. So that's a spirit that will never be lost. And one of the things we want to know in the diaspora, especially in the United States of America, how can we do a better job to get your voice out on the world stage, in the international stage, in the United States government? We're here for you. We're here to support our homeland, our people, our compatriots. We feel your pain, and we really want to support you. What can we do better, or how can we assist you to get that message out? Similar to what Ukraine has done. When we look at Zelensky's Ukraine, he's been able to get his message on the world stage. What can we do to help the people of Artsakh and Armenia?
Well, first of all, it's a national character of Armenian people always to struggle, because whatever you are doing in the diaspora, it's also a heroic, let's say, stance, because majority of our compatriots in the diaspora are descendants of genocide and tragedy. They came here without anything. They didn't even know language, completely destroyed, materially. But they came here and we had Saroyan. They came here and we had James Babayan. We came here, we had many, many other people who became pride, not only for our people, but of America too. This means that we have a very strong potential for resilience. What we have to do is to keep the spirit, because Artsakh people are very strong, as the entire Armenian people. Irrespective of the difficulties, we are very much resolute, we are going to stand. But we don't have to be disappointed. You see, we don't have to feel abandoned by the entire Armenian nation. It is a soft power which makes us very strong. This is why now the struggle goes on not only in the battlefield, it goes on in our hearts and minds. And the enemy wants to demonstrate that your people betrayed Artsakh, which is not the case. We do have some, I don't know, non-patriotic elements within our society, all over the Armenian world. But we do still have chances to save Artsakh. What you have to do, first of all, keep your identity alive. It doesn't matter that you have to be fluent like Mesrop Mashtots in Armenian language, but spirit should be kept. And we have also some kind of maybe desire or proposal to make Artsakh #1 question for the Armenian world. Artsakhocentric approach should be on the basis, the foundation of our national policy. Of course, we do have other, national or pan-Armenian issues, the recognition of 1915 genocide, other things. But now our fate, the fate of Armenian people depends on Artsakh. This is why Artsakhocentric policy should be the issue #1 for the entire Armenian nation. And this is very important, because if we lose Artsakh, as I said already, there will be no Armenia. Without Armenia, there will be no diaspora.
Well, that reminds me of a very prophetic statement made by hero Monty Melkonian 30 years ago, saying that once we lose Artsakh, that we may turn the final chapters of Armenian history. He also said that they would go for Syunik next. And we are seeing that in many ways, Artsakh was the gateway for Azeri aggression. And they found that they were emboldened by the world's lack of response to their aggression, their warlike tactics. Can you talk a little bit about the motives and the human rights issues, the war crimes, and the genocidal intent that you see from the Azerbaijani government, starting from the top, the state-sponsored hate, and what the intent is beyond just the territorial land grab that's happening, but beyond that, that there is a historic aggression and genocidal intent that is being completed not only by Azerbaijan, but as you mentioned earlier, by jointly with Turkey?
Well, Monty Melkonian is one of the heroes and maybe great thinkers of Armenian nation. And he said indeed prophetic thing. This is why we have to continue this spirit. He had an alternative to stay in the United States, to become a very well-known scientist or businessman or whatever. But he decided to come, and he changed the course of our history with hundreds of other, patriots. He proved, practically that it is possible to defeat much stronger enemy and save the country. Just you have to have appropriate motivation. You see, if you have appropriate motivation, if your spirit is very strong, you can defeat, physically or materially stronger enemy. This is the fact. As to the genocidal policy, Azerbaijan as a state is a genocidal state. Again, this is not about people. I always tell my students, by the way, I'm also lecturing in some universities. I think it's a very good thing always to keep your, in appropriate, let's say, condition, because students are the most bold and the most, let's say, enthusiastic category, and you always have to keep yourself in appropriate, let's say, in intellectual condition to follow all the trends. I always say to my students that you have to distinguish between patriotism and nationalism. If I put a little Azeri or Turkish baby, 3 months old, on this table and say, come and kill him, whoever kills little baby, he's not even a human being. He cannot be a patriot because this is an idiot and ill person. This is not patriotism. You cannot hate other nation, and this should not be the criteria of your love towards your own people.
And this is the indoctrination that we are
Definitely.
seeing in Azerbaijan. Sorry, yes.
You are totally right. We see that it's not patriotism, it's nationalism. And even the recent clashes in Vayozdor, Sunik, you see what kind of crimes, atrocities they are doing. Killing this woman, cutting her hands, fingers, etc. Whatever they did with many other prisoners of war. I mean, you don't have to be very strong and brave to mutilate, kill a person who is unable to defend himself. It's like killing a little baby. But this is their state policy, because state boosts such kind of behavior. They become heroes. They receive money, apartments, everything. And what they are doing, first of all, it's crime against humanity, genocide, physical, killing of people, only on the basis of nationality and religion, which is even a crime in Islam. But Azerbaijan is not a state of religious or belief. They don't believe even, they don't follow even Islamic, rules, because Islam forbids such kind of things. They are conducting cultural terrorism and genocidal policies. They destroy everything. President Aliyev himself orders to destroy all the Armenian inscriptions. Turkish president with his wife and Azeri president with his wife, they travel in some places around Artsakh, in occupied territories of Artsakh. And the wife of Turkish president proposes to Aliyev that you can give some prisoners of war instead of demining. And the world is absolutely indifferent. How comes? I mean, she is not an ordinary person. She is first lady.
As a political bargaining chip.
Yes. So they are obliged, they must give back all the prisoners of war without any speculations. Where is international law? Again, we see that price is dominating over value. If this is the case, it presents existential threat to democratic society, because it will be only a matter of time. Today is in Artsakh, tomorrow it will be in Connecticut. So we have to understand those things. I mean, how can you explain that Greece, another NATO member, is asking France to protect Greece from Turkey?
Absolutely.
What's going on? I mean, it's totally,
you're emboldening their
and
actions.
As to Ukraine, you see, geopolitically, what happens, it was expected, because now we see that the world has entered into the era of naked geopolitics. There are no values, nothing. Geopolitical war is going on. I don't want to make any assessment of Ukraine's policy, but Ukraine always sent mercenaries to fight against Artsakh on Azeri side, etc., etc. But we see that the world, part of the world, is interested in helping Ukraine. This motivation is not value-driven.
No.
It is a geopolitical thing.
Yes, and we see the contrast with
we see the contrast because Ukraine, it doesn't face genocide. You see, the Russians don't say that they are going to kill all the Ukrainians. We feel total extermination, but we don't see appropriate, you see, reaction. If this is so, it's a very bad thing. Of course, we are free to choose our destiny and our geopolitical, let's say, calculations, how to do that, to save Artsakh. But I think that we are a nation which has a potential to maintain good relations with many other nations who even have problems with each other. There are only one nation in the world which has the same opportunities, the Jewish people. Why? Because we have diaspora.
Yes.
And if we have diaspora, it means that we could and we must maintain good relations with Russia, good relations with United States, with France, with Iran. Each of these countries has problems with each other. But we can be very wise enough, of course, if we are wise enough and patriotic, to avoid sharp corners of that bad relations or difficult period of relations between these countries. If we don't do that, it means that either we lack professionalism or we are not patriotic. We don't have the right to make experiments. If a person, and let's say anti-Russian stance, should not be the only criteria of being pro-democratic or pro-Western, and vice versa. If we have the opportunity to have good relations with all of them, why we prefer it to, I don't know, anti-thing, anti-policy? It is stupid. And not only stupid, it's dangerous for our nation and people. This is why the most important thing which we have to do is to reorganize ourselves, to get out of this difficult psychological situation. A country, a nation which faces existential threat should not have a negative, let's say, feeling towards the word victory or we will win, because it's catastrophe. Now we have to revive this thing. Otherwise, it will be just a very sad end of our civilization, Armenian civilization.
Absolutely, and we're at the crossroads. We feel that diaspora vicariously, but you are the ones who are there going through it. On that note, I was also going to ask you, why is it still important to make sure that Artsakh becomes independent and has the right to self-determination, which it does, but why is it important to continue that plight? And also, secondarily, what are the new strategies or tactics? Obviously, the war that was just waged by Azerbaijan was a big, curveball. But what is the strategy that you have in the government in order to help advocate, and how can we help you promote that?
You see, any nation has a right to self-determination. This is something intrinsic to any nation. This is a basic principle in international law. United States itself is a product of self-determination, because these 13 states realized their right to self-determination. You cannot deny one nation this right and say that another nation has that right. It is a discrimination. This shouldn't happen. If we are fighting against discrimination and so-called, let's say, judicial or law racism, we should understand this. this
The double standard,
double standards.
or not applying.
No, you
yeah.
can have different standards, but they should not be discriminatory. Let's say one nation maybe is ready for self-determination, another is not. Why? Because there should be some legal things too. Maybe majority of people don't want determination. For example, when we analyze, let's say, the case of Northern Ireland, you know that in 1998 there was a Belfast Agreement signed. This Belfast Agreement, Good Friday Agreement, it stipulates that every 7 years Northern Ireland could embark on the path of self-determination. But there should be some procedures, maintained. Let's say some, number of people should have appropriate petitions or whatever. If it's not, then it can be postponed. So this is the democratic way of addressing this issue. But in case of Azerbaijan, we don't have that. Why? Because the state is aggressive. Why the state is aggressive? Because of the nature of Azerbaijani nation formation. It is still in progress. It was formed by above from geopolitical perspectives. There was no Azeri nation before 1936. Until now, it hasn't been formed. There are national minorities which consist, at least 3 national minorities constitute around 50% of their territory and population. You see, so they behave in this way. We don't have to expect anything from Azerbaijan because of these specifics. So we have to be very sophisticated and professionals to know the enemy, know it very profoundly.
Yes.
In order to avoid different things. So this is the case. So it should be a universal approach to self-determination. If one nation cannot be denied, besides Artsakh suits all the criteria. This, from the, let's say, legal point of view, we have gone through all the appropriate things, historically, morally. But now we see geopolitical approach and calculations. This is why we do deserve, and we are going to stand and continue our struggle. It doesn't mean that it will be easy. No, it's one of the most difficult conflicts to settle in the world. Again, very similar to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The same level of difficulty and everything. So we have to understand all those things to be able to somehow face all those difficulties. For us, there is no alternative at all.
Well, we're here to support you, Foreign Minister, and I think that this visit, I think we all believe that this visit will be definitely a positive step towards raising awareness in the capital, in the United States of America, and in the heart of democracy, human rights, and all the right values. And we hope here as Armenian Americans we can help you promote the cause, the rights of the people of Artsakh to self-determination, independence, and freedom from Azerbaijan and Turkey's terrorism and hate.
It's a litmus test for the democratic world, because it's like a boomerang. If you deny somebody the right he deserves, it will come to you. One day, it's only a matter of time. It's a very precise weapon. I mean, from political, moral perspectives, because if you do something bad, if you are violating this or that law, one day you will have to be punished for that. And now we see, unfortunately, that the world has entered a very dangerous stage. And in order to save the world from catastrophe, values should again prevail over price.
Absolutely.
If not, then it will be very difficult. But I am optimistic. I'm not, let's say, naive, because naiveness is probably the most dangerous thing. We are realistic. We do still have all the possibilities to save Artsakh. It is should be a number one priority for all the Armenians. And we have to be very frank, but also very tough simultaneously. There is no other way to save our country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us today, Foreign Minister Babayan. It is truly an honor to have you here, and we hope to be able to get to work and further the American and U.S. policy and help our countrymen and women in Artsakh and Armenia at this very, very difficult and challenging time, which threatens our countries and our homeland's very existence.
I would like just to add one thing.
Yes.
That we always have also, we shouldn't forget about God, because we are also a God-chosen people, and we think that God will not let us face the destiny which maybe we do deserve, because He will give another chance to us.
I hope so. We pray for that.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.